Have you ever been fishing a Texas rig and then flipping and pitching it right close into cover, and then you turn 90 degrees and make a really long cast out in front of the boat or way out from the shoreline? Well, I know that I have, but that single decision, that split-second decision, can cost us bites, especially from a big fish. Well, let me go ahead and explain. The Texas rig, we know, works great in all kinds of situations, and because of that, we fish it in many different ways. Well, when it comes down to that hook choice, when we're flipping and pitching up close, most of us are going to be using a heavy wire flipping hook, and that's great for that situation because there's not much line out there, and when we set the hook, that kinetic energy, that transfer of energy from our hands through the rod, through the line, to the hook, is able to penetrate the mouth of the fish, even those great big bass that have a really thick and heavy jawline. But when we switch our Texas rig presentations to making really long casts, ultra long casts, and we're just kind of reeling or stitching that lure across the bottom like I am here, all of a sudden things change. That same transfer of energy is not as effective because we have so much line out there, and we have to deal with distance not only horizontally, but then distance in terms of depth or vertically as well. In this particular situation, I had found an isolated little grass patch by this dock, and it was down in 20 foot of water, and because the water was ultra clear, I was back quite a ways as well. Well, the easiest way to rectify this situation where we can maintain that hookup ratio is I switched over to a light wire offset worm hook, and the real key was that light wire. Those lighter wire hooks can penetrate easier when we've got that kind of distance. Now, one of the downsides, if you really horse the fish, you know, that light wire could bend, but as long as you play the fish correctly, use that drag correctly, you know, don't horse it into the boat, you're going to be okay, and your hookup ratio is going to be so much better. In this particular situation, you can see that, you know, I caught a couple bass here, and then boom, I ended up hooking what us northern anglers have to deal with all the time taking our lures, is a pretty good sized northern pike. Well, this fish was caught on this light wire hook as well, and as you can see, I landed it just fine. And if you've ever caught one, you know that they fight really hard, their jaws are strong, and this hook landed the fish. So when you are Texas rigging, it's best to have a couple different setups if you can. If you're walking down the shoreline or up on your boat deck, and if you're going to mix it up between that shallow up personal type of flipping and pitching cover and those long distance casts with your Texas rig, have a couple different rods set up, one with that heavier wire hook and one with the lighter wire hook. And of course, the most difficult part about this is actually putting one rod down and picking up the other. I've had to learn the hard way. And speaking of Texas rigs, when we drop them vertically into cover, here's a video that can help you really kind of figure out how to dial in what is going on and maybe elicit some of those reaction strikes. So go ahead and watch this one right here, and make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.